Welcome to Mick and the Psychic, where we leave no stone unturned as we explore all things outside the apparent physical realm.
There is no intent to teach or make you believe or disbelieve anything. It is just a safe space to listen and explore with us.
So for this next episode, you have permission to open your heart and mind as you join myself and Xzavia on this deep dive into the unknown.
The question to him was, well, what's the shift in consciousness? What does that mean? And the guide said, oh, you humans, you think by naming things that'll give you a better handle on it. Well, I got news for you. He said, in terms of the cosmos, your shift isn't a big deal.
So today, I have no idea how to introduce our next guest, but I'll give it a go by saying he's a journalist, an author, documentary filmmaker, film director, screenwriter, producer, podcaster, YouTuber. I'd say an expert on the afterlife and between lives. You've probably watched his documentaries on Gaia, maybe read his books on Amazon or listened to his podcast on YouTube. But he's a clever bloke because he has a podcast alongside a psychic medium, which means he doesn't have to worry about content or have the pressure of content. So I've taken that on board. It's none other than Rich Martini.
Hey.
Welcome to the show, mate.
Oh, what a treat for me. I was just telling you guys, I had been down to Sydney. And of course, how cool is this that we can have this conversation in real time? Yes. I'm in Santa Monica.
Yeah.
And you guys are in Melbourne. You know, wow.
Welcome to the future.
There you go. But I also think it's a little bit like welcome to the flip side, because it's funny how the net and how this kind of technology mirrors what people are talking about on the other side. This idea that you can travel the speed of thought, that you can hook up with people over there instantaneously. It doesn't matter where they're from or who they are. And if it's somebody that you may have known from a previous lifetime, it could be somebody that you just want to meet. And it's literally like, I think I'll send them a link, and boom, there they are. And you can download all that information from them instantaneously and recall like what it was like when you knew them in a previous lifetime. So the internet is giving us this weird opportunity to experience kind of what it's like on the flip side.
So would you say that like some people like myself might have like a shitty internet provider, and then someone like Xzavia, who's a psychic medium, has like this high-speed broadband direct link? Is it just that some people have kind of need to upgrade their receivers more?
I think so. But, you know, if we want to now just take it a little bit into this data world, this world of data, which I like to do, as you know. So I was reading a book by Dr. Helen Wambach. She was a psychologist out of the JFK University back in the 1970s. She was doing PTSD cases with Vietnam vets. And she discovered that they were remembering previous lifetimes. And so she, as a scientist who didn't believe that that was possible, tried to devise a way so that she could eliminate bias. And so she would do groups of 10, not individual one-on-one, but groups of 10. And then each group would choose, the individual would choose a time period that they could try to remember. And then she also made a very casual, but a 2-hour session 4 times. And so you had 8 hours of sort of directed hypnosis. And her results were pretty astounding. Most people haven't read her stuff, but like remembering the I'll think of it. Life Before Lives is one. And Reliving Past Lives is her other one. But both books are case studies, 2,750 case studies. All right. And now we get into, we were talking about earlier, Brian Weiss. Brian Weiss's work, Many Lives, Many Masters. He's had, it's estimated 4,000 cases of past life memories. So the question then, and Michael Newton, we talked about him. He's got estimated 7,000 reports of people not only recalling previous lifetimes, but the between lives realm. So the question,
which is ongoing with his institute, they're continuing.
They're continuing that research,
that database. Yeah,
that's right. And so the question really becomes, really, why can't we access that? Like, where do I put the quarter in the machine so I can remember my previous lifetime? So, but I did I did notice in Dr. Wambach's book, Reliving Past Lives, she had a chapter about filters on the brain. And the way she thought about it was that the brain the brain is like a stereo receiver, gets a big sound wave, and it filters out the information that it can't use so you can make music, right? It limiters and filters. And then she said, the stuff that's filtered out is not conducive to survival, and that's why we don't have it. Now, cut to 50 years later, Dr. Bruce Grayson out of the University of Virginia, he's writing a book about near-death experiences, also a skeptic, a psychiatrist, but thousands of cases of people accessing stuff on the other side. A whole chapter in there about filters on the brain, where he says the brain filters out this information not conducive to survival. Same turn of phrase. Mm-hmm. So the question then is, who's got the filters? How do you turn them off? So if you look at it, some children up to the age of 8, roughly, when the skull hardens, they can see, hear, experience, recall, remember things that they shouldn't. But let's say, I was your father in a previous lifetime, or whatever they can remember. And Xzavia knows, and it's like, they're seeing grandma. And as Grayson pointed out, in the UK, the statistic is 70% of the hospice care workers working with dementia people, they report that they suddenly regain their memory just prior to passing, as if the filters had died. That's the way Grayson put it. So it appears that mediums like Xzavia, not necessarily, I won't call you a medium if you don't call yourself that, but that idea that her filters are different than Michael's, right? Your broadband, the amount of money you paid to get your Wi-Fi.
I know. Yeah.
It's not the same. I'm the same way as well. And, and I must say, this is a good story this is a good story for your Australian audience. My whole life, I saw ghosts, and I just ignored them. By the way, is there an angel over my shoulder?
No. There's just black screen. You're fine.
That's a plug. That's a plug from my book.
Okay, excellent. We'll get to that.
No, but I went to 1996. I took a trip to Sydney to honor Philip Noyes, a friend of mine, film director from Down Under, Rabbit Proof Friends, really brilliant film. All the other stuff. But they were doing a thing about Newsfront. And so he had sold his house in Darlinghurst. And he said to me, you're here for, a couple of weeks. Why don't you just stay in my old house? There's nobody there. There's a bed. And so my first night in his place in Darlinghurst, sound asleep. I wake up, I hear somebody in the room, and I look up, and there's a guy hanging by his neck from a rope.
Whoops.
Yeah, wow.
And I sat up. Oh my God, like, how did that happen? And the guy saw me sit up, and he looked down at me and he said, I'm terribly sorry, mate. It's just something I feel the need to do.
Oh, he was British.
Yeah, sorry. Very good. Sorry, mate. It's just something I need. Anyway, sorry. So, but as he said that, a ladder appeared beneath him, like an orange ladder.
Wow.
And then he descended. And then when he got to the bottom, he pulled the rope and it came down like it was a fake knot. So that afternoon, I had lunch with Jan Sharp, Philip's then wife, a film producer from Sydney. And I said, hey, what's up with your ghost? She said, what are you talking about? I said, well, I saw this guy. He was dressed like a painter and he was on a ladder and he was hanging from the rafters. And she said, I don't know what you're talking about, but the guy who did paint our house, he did hang himself in another house some miles away. I said, well, he must have liked your house because he's still hanging around.
Hanging around. Love it.
But the point is that
you said you're not intuitive. Like, didn't you just say you don't have?
Well, that's what I mean. In other words, I think we all are mediums.
Okay.
And it's just that idea that we deny it. We see it, we deny it, we dismiss it. It's a dream, it's a memory, it's something I ate last night, pepperoni pizza, which is what I thought most of my life. But once I started doing this research, I realized, oh my gosh, when I really think about it, I'd had a dozen experiences like that, but never one like so specific where the guy talked to me, clearly saw that I saw him, and apologized for what he was doing, which very clearly he was something he said he felt the need to do.
Interesting.
You know, like repeat that motion.
Yeah. Stuck in that kind of loop.
Stuck in that loop. But since then, and I'm sure Xzavia can talk about this, but you know, you run into somebody who's stuck in a loop. Now you don't have to just go, oh my gosh, there's somebody in my house stuck in a loop. You can say, hey, loop dude, what are you doing here? And have you thought about going home?
Yeah,
because
exactly. Ask him.
if you look over your shoulder, there's like a light.
It's really
You don't have to go, but you could. And by the way, everyone who ever loved you is on the other side of that light. So why don't you go and come back and talk to us and let us know how it goes? And they never come back.
That's a great tip, especially for the kids who aren't sure and they're scared and they tell their parents what they saw, and just because their parents can't see it because their skull's hardened, like you said, they tell them it must be your imagination. But I love being able to help children or educate parents to say to your kids, just ask them to go, explain to them they can go home. You're freaking me out a little bit. This is a bit weird for me. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're you know, they used to be here in the physical. So be respectful, be polite, nothing to be scared of. Just say thanks. Bye.
Yeah, exactly. And I try to mention to people that, you know, they were here first. Sorry.
Yeah, don't be rude, man.
You're invading their space. And I just didn't realize it. What really, so it's happened a couple of times since then, and since this research started, where there was, here's an example. I was doing actually my show is on Gaia tonight. They've just aired the new episode on Beyond Belief with George Noory, but I was doing my makeup on the show in Denver a couple of years ago, and the makeup artist, the producer ran in and said to the makeup artist, "Oh, tell him about the ghost." And so she said, yeah, listen, there's some, you know, we noticed that somebody was smashing the lights when the place was locked down. Somebody was in there and smashing the equipment. And she said, and I saw him. She had walked open, you know, she'd opened the door and walked in and saw this guy. And so I did that technique that we were talking about, which is I freeze the frame. And I said, well, let's see. I'm getting my makeup done. And I go, well, let's see if we can talk to him. And she, could you remember what he looked like? And she had a very specific memory of, you know, this young guy. And so I said, well, let's freeze the frame and ask him some questions. Is it okay? And he said, yeah. And so the story that came out of him was that he had died in a fire nearby, in the town, outside of Denver, outside of Boulder. And I said that same thing. I'm thinking, I don't know if this works or not, but I said, now listen, if you look around, there's a light, and that light is like a portal. And if you go over there, you can go home. And his reaction was, I don't want to go home. You know, I like it here and I'm angry. I like being angry. And I said, well, why are you smashing the equipment? He said, because it's people come on the show and lie about the afterlife.
Ooh.
And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going on the show
to lie about the afterlife.
In a few minutes. Yeah. Like, is he going to smash me or no? Anyway, I just thought that was so wild. And then I just insisted. I said, look, just go close to the light, stick your head through the light, look around, see if you see somebody. And he saw an uncle, which he said, the only person who ever liked him. And I said, why don't you go hang out with your uncle for a while? And I'll, you know, when the show's over, you can come back and tell us how it went. So I went off and did the show. At that moment, they called me to do the show. And when I went back afterwards, the makeup artist said, oh, he came back. And I went, oh, I guess it didn't work. You know, I was hoping it had worked. She said, no, he came back to thank us for helping him go home.
Rich, I've got some questions on your own ethics here, or your own morals here. George Noory has got a afterlife bullshit detector on his show, and you happen to distract him while you're on that show for him to then come back later on. It's almost like you distracted this guy from Were you worried? Were you worried he was going to call you out?
Oh, you mean, no, here's the thing, you know, and Michael, you
distracted him just for the time while you're on the show. I don't know. Is that coincidence or?
Well, here's the weird journey I've been on. I mean, you know, just to put it in a nutshell, like, why am I doing this? And I can
Yes.
just,
Good
the
question.
basic thing is that in 1996, right around that time period, my dear close friend, Luana Anders, who I'd been with for 20 years, passed away. And she started showing up in my dreams, but as a younger person, not when I knew her. And I started hearing her voice. And then she started showing me things that wasn't aware that you could see. So I would like half in a dream and half awake and half asleep. But then she started showing up to friends of mine, to other people who knew her and saying, oh, you know, I saw her. You can see right through her. And so I orchestrated a couple. I was working on the Charles Grodin show, and I orchestrated a medium. James Van Prague came on, and as an experiment, I said, "Why don't we just see if we can talk to our friend Luana?" Luana came forward and mentioned a photograph that I had put on my refrigerator, and she said, "There's," he said, "She's telling me there's a photograph that's the essence of your relationship." Well, that photograph was me and her in Rome, having cappuccinos and cookies and laughing. And I've never said it about any other photograph in my life, but so it's a reflexive experience. I know that I said, oh, look, the essence of our relationship. So for him to say that, it was a verification for me. It won't, nobody listening into this will say, oh, yeah, there's an afterlife. No, but for me, I knew my friend still existed. And now it's really bizarre and strange. I met Jennifer Schaefer, the medium, about 7 years ago. She works with law enforcement on missing person cases, as well as private stuff. Yeah, very, very sweet person and does a lot of pro bono work for people. But Luana started showing up as soon as I met Jennifer. And Jennifer would say, oh, your friend is here. And I'd say, who? And then, so Luana has become the moderator of our podcast on the other side, on the flip side. So Jennifer and I work together. And then I say, so who does Luana want to bring to our show? She's in charge of the guest list. And it's a funny construct, because I'm sure this happens to Xzavia. Sometimes, people show up uninvited, while you're having, whatever cappuccino in the morning. I can say to them, look, I would love to chat with you. I don't know if I believe I'm chatting with you, but you have to get on Luana's list if you want to talk to us. You got to go to her. And then I go I go to our podcast and I said, Jennifer, who's here? And then she'll name the person that I saw. So the point is, I talk more to Luana now than I did when she was on the planet on a weekly basis. So
awesome. That's great that she chose to come and assist you with this to bring you together for the podcast, and then help enlighten and open the minds of so many people that are tuning in to understand that you don't die. You just change.
And then just change form, but at the same time, I didn't mean to put that word in your mouth. Sorry, but whatever, that change, yes. Yeah. But I was going to say what I'm focused on is process. So I ask her a lot of questions about the process. So how are you doing that? Well, what's your frequency compared to mine? Mm-hmm. Are you traveling at the same rate? And then she'll say, no, we have to slow way down, like being in a supersonic transport, talking to somebody in a VW, traveling around a dirty road with the windows up. They slow the plane down so that they can communicate with us. And they can only get a couple of words or thoughts or images in our direction, because we're driving along in our VW, you see. So it's that when we're asleep or under hypnosis, like Michael knows, then we have dropped away the filters, and now we're traveling at, let's say, relatively the same rate of speed so that they can communicate.
Can I ask, with just when we're talking about the filters, you put it in a really interesting way, like radio receiving, like tuning in and stuff, and that at that age where the filters were on, some people talk about it as being the veil. So certain times of moon cycles or certain time of the year, like I think it's Halloween, the veil is a bit thinner, so you got a better opportunity. Do you think that this is like a spiritual veil, or do you think like the skull is like a physical veil, or is it conditioning? What do you think this kind of?
Well, it's a great question, and it really comes down to nomenclature and words that we use to examine. So, of course, I came across the term the veil in myself, you know, I would hear it or somebody having a conversation about it. And I just have to reflect on the fact that the last time I was talking to Luana about the veil, she corrected me and said, there is no veil. That's just a mental construct. That's a human construct. So that's easy for her to say. But in terms of our experience, you know, there's a reason we can't talk to everybody, right? There's a reason.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Physiological. Yeah. And imagine what that would be like trying to go to the grocery store and being surrounded by, you know, everybody's brother and their, you know, whatever, or going to Starbucks and trying to get a coffee and you recognize the barista like poisoned you in a previous lifetime. So, you know, so it makes sense that we do have these blocks so that we aren't so. However, and I'm sure you've heard this, it appears, and maybe it's the internet, I don't know, but it appears that the veil is thinning, or the holes in the veil are kind of predominant. And when I ask the question to people, you know, why is this happening? They'll say, well, it's time. They'll say it's what happens with civilizations. That at some point there's a shift in consciousness. Now, in one of the sessions we did, it's in the book, It's a Wonderful Afterlife, we were talking to a guide on the Flipside. And the question to him was, I was filming Scott DeTamble, hypnotherapist in Los Angeles, trained with the Newton method. But so he was asking this question, and one of her questions was, well, what's the shift in consciousness? What does that mean? And the guide said, oh, you humans, you think by naming things that'll give you a better handle on it. Well, I got news for you. He said, in terms of the cosmos, your shift isn't a big deal. I was thinking, oh, you mean like in terms of Saturn running into Jupiter? But he said, but if you want to understand a shift in consciousness, imagine yourself a little tiny crab walking on the ocean floor. You're walking along and you open your eyes and you realize, hey, I'm in an ocean. That's a shift in consciousness. That idea, I mean, and when he said it, I thought, you know, oxygen, we see it as something etheric and we don't see it, air, but it has the same qualities of water, you know, O2, H2O. And imagine if we knew or could realize that oxygen is just like water. I mean, would we ever pollute it? Would you cut down a tree? Never, because that's giving you oxygen. You see? I mean, in the whole process, we just can't see it, so we don't really address it or talk about it or think about it. Anyway, I just thought that was a wild thing for him to say, but it was so cute. You know, the little tiny crab walking along. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure it's Luana with me
now,
but she's
come on.
I know it sounds like cliche because we're on the show.
Don't try not to judge it. And we didn't. Jennifer,
let her in.
The country.
Audience entertainment.
Let her in. Let her in.
For ages, and she keeps saying to me, well, he can talk. Like she's waiting for you to stop talking, and I have to put my hand up to interrupt you because you won't shut up. So she can let you know that she's here.
That's great. No, Lou, I got some questions for you, my dear. What's up? What's up? So, well, let's ask process-wise, what were you doing prior to this? Or did you orchestrate us to get together so that we could have this conversation?
Yes. She wants to let you know that she started off, she was cheeky. I was distracted while you're talking because she sat on my lap. She's wearing like a whitish sundress and a really big floppy hat, like oversized, and she span. And then I felt nauseous, like I was spinning too. And I asked her to make it stop and like the nausea to go. We were having a conversation in my mind.
Yeah.
As you were talking. And then it made me like burp when she stopped me from feeling nauseous from spinning. And then she told me, she was just telling me about how you talk so much, and I have to put my hand up or I won't get a word in edgeways.
No, absolutely, and she and it's true. I do talk too much, and she has interrupted. But Lou, you know, so this is a weird construct for all your audience paying attention. So Luana Anders was an actress for whatever 58 years, you know, not of her whole life. But she was in over 300 films and TV shows, including Easy Rider, quite a few other things. And so she's a very well-respected actress among her friends, but also a very spiritual person among her friends, because a number of them have come to me and said, you know, I've had these incredible dreams about her. And so Luana, would you put in Xzavia's mind when you first reference a classroom on the other side, you were talking about being in another universe. You said everyone was dressed in white, speaking in a language that you had never heard before, but somehow you completely understood. Can you explain to Xzavia, what was that class about?
Another language. I'm just getting that it was another language that you couldn't understand, but the point of the class was to understand that you can communicate with anybody. And it doesn't matter, like the language doesn't matter because it's in your mind, regardless of the sound.
Telepathic.
Yeah, telepathic.
Interesting. All right. Yeah, no, very good. And so is that what you're doing on the flip side, Lou? In telepathy? Are you helping? This is what I'm aware of. You're helping people over there.
Well, at the moment, she's just like, well, that's how we've been talking. So, duh. Like,
duh. Hello.
Yeah.
All right. I got a weird question.
She shows, not rosary beads, the beads that you pray, what Mick has them around his wrist. You pray.
Yes.
Yeah,
mala beads.
Mala beads. Yeah, she's just showing me those from her past when you're talking about spirituality. She mentioned, so I don't know if you know about her having a string of beads. It was a bit new age and different then.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. She was a Buddhist, and it was kind of how I met her on the flip side, is because I decided I would take a class with Robert Thurman, Uma's dad, who was a scholar at,
Hey Shiva.
Yeah.
And oh, wait a minute, did I lose you there? Hold on.
No,
one sec.
I don't think so.
No, okay. All right,
we can see you. Yeah.
Yeah, I know something goofy got mine. So anyway, and
sorry.
RJ, would you bring me a set of mala beads?
Oh, sure.
Please, thanks, my son.
That wasn't from the flip side. That was here, right?
That was
I'm just checking.
here.
I don't know what the hell is going on right
The
now.
ones that are right up there. And so the reason I'm going to bring them over to you is because, look, Luana has said this many times. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Said this many times, which is meditation can not only cure the illnesses that people have mentally. And she was a Nichiren Shoshu Buddhist, so she Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. And she prayed every day. And she said many times from the flip side that praying, chanting saved her life. And she wants us to reiterate that you can literally change your life. And it doesn't have to be to Buddha. It doesn't have to be about Buddha. But the idea of chanting to heal others heals us. There's a great study by Richard Davidson at the University of Wisconsin where he talks about mind science, on how the Tonglen meditation, the Tibetan meditation, Tonglen, can cure or alleviate symptoms of depression. And I attended a lecture he gave at UCLA where he talked about it. And one session can change the shape of the amygdala, which regulates serotonin. So you've heard about serotonin inhibitors. Imagine that you could change the shape and help regulate serotonin just by, and the meditation is healing somebody else. So that idea that you can heal other people through meditation is a really profound. Anthony Bourdain, I mentioned that in the podcast today, or not the podcast, the George Noory thing. He came through, and Jennifer, who was talking to him directly, said he's showing me monks chanting. And I, like an idiot, said, oh, did you used to meditate? And his answer was, no, you fool. If I had, I'd still be on the planet. So he was trying to impart that message. So I'm sorry, I'm talking, but Luana, what does Lou want to say? What does she want to say to Michael? Anything?
I think she already has.
So she was just showing me as you were talking, she just did this with her hand and a rainbow appeared. I was just talking about reminding us that we can all manifest and create whatever the heck we want to, which is something I talk about all the time. So I love that she just reiterated that. And she gave me like a download of information, which is a big block, like a lot of confirmation at once. That's how I get it. It takes 1 second, but it feels like a story. But anyway, before you even mentioned Mick's name, she knew you were going to say that. And we had a great chat yesterday, actually, Mick and I, about his evolution and his abilities and what he can channel, and that she was just basically applauding his journey, and that's why he was guided to contact you to hook us all up.
There we
He
go.
was channeling back then, so we would all be, we're part of the same.
Well, so think of that. I just think about that for a second. I asked the question,
Yeah.
you know, Lou, do you have anything for Mick? And her answer was to show you a visual of the
Yes.
conversation that you had yesterday.
Yes.
And this is what I found that's so fascinating in this work, which is we can ask a medium a question, and the medium then gives us a download or a visual of what they've just gotten from this person on the other side. But we also then can translate it, because you know, it's like if Mick wasn't here, you might have said, "Oh, she's saying you should talk to your friends more often." You see, you might have translated it that way, but because of the content of what Mick was talking about, that's what she wanted to note. Lou, there's a guy named Alan who's been talking to me lately. Are you aware of this person? And you don't have to be. I'm not taking up her time to ask that, but this guy Alan has been sort of talking to me about you as if you guys knew each other.
She kind of went, yes, like, why?
Well, is this something we should talk about, or is it not of
is he on the list? Is he on the list?
That's right.
She, not that list, she said. Oh, okay. She's being a bit cheeky about him. Yeah, like she jokingly said on the blacklist. Like, I don't know if she's impressed.
Like a boyfriend list, you mean?
Well, kind of something like that. It felt like
okay,
like that. Sort of
on the naughty list.
Yeah, like black.
Oh, on the naughty list. Oh, okay.
Yeah, like blacklist.
I don't really know the fellow, but recently he's had a couple of mediums tell him that he's connected to Luana in some way, and of course, you hear that and you're like, I don't know what that means, but you try to be open to any possibility. Anyway,
like everybody wants to be famous.
Okay, Lou, you're so tough. So
like you just 15 minutes of fame kind of.
Okay.
All right, so I'll tell you what, Lou, because we have you, and what the hell, this is so funny because Jennifer, my podcast, Jennifer's been in Europe. So because we have you, is there anybody on your list today for this conversation, for Xzavia or Michael, that might want to come through and talk to them? And I'll help ask you questions, and Michael, you can chip in if you want.
Sure.
I don't even know if he's. I thought he was alive. I don't even know if he's dead or alive.
Don't judge it. Don't judge it. What's the first name of the person?
He said Marlon Brando, but is he alive?
Okay, very good. All right, you please don't judge it. The reason I say don't judge it is because I completely understand what she's talking about. All right, so
my dad is a massive movie buff, and he would just die if he heard this whole conversation.
No dying. All right, so and this is wonderful because Mick and Xzavia are not aware of our conversations with Marlon, or why we could have a conversation with Marlon. So, Lou, do you want to talk about Marlon, or do you want to bring Marlon into this conversation? It's up to you. I know what questions to ask him.
He's laughing at me freaking out so much, like. I've just gone so red.
Okay, well, all right. So I guess, see, look, I like to say there's no hierarchy on the flip side. Let's just allow that. They're just lights, right? So Marlon, the energy that was Marlon, has come forward. Well, tell me what he looks like. About how old does he look to in your viewpoint, for your filters?
Now he's from The Godfather, yes?
Yes, correct. So does he look?
I'm seeing the scene from like with a big cigar.
Okay, so that kind of look. Okay,
because that's how I would recognize him.
All right, and so Chuck, so Michael, this is an example of stuff you can do with Xzavia, which is to ask questions that she does not know the answer to, but the person on the other side does.
Okay, gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Marlon. Oh, well, what do you want to talk about? I mean, I could ask you questions.
Should I take the cotton wool out of my mouth first?
Yeah, please. Yes, we can't understand you if you're talking like that bird.
Is that one Marlon Brando? That's how bad I am with like movie stars. Is that the guy that actually played the Godfather?
Yes, that's the guy who was the
Okay.
Godfather in The Godfather. And recently, it's on
There it is.
Paramount Plus, and they have the scene where the actor puts the. What do you think about this film called The Offer, Marlon? Even if Michael and
Offer.
The Offer. Are you familiar with it, Marlon? What's your opinion of it? I'm sure you're familiar with it. Yeah, thumbs up, thumbs down.
I'm just getting jokes like, did they make you an offer you can't refuse? And that's from a movie too, I'm pretty sure.
Well, it is, and that's why they call this thing The Offer.
Oh, okay.
They make you an offer. He's doing his.
It's actually the making of The Godfather.
Okay.
And it's a mini series. So Marlon, we need a thumbs up, thumbs down. What's your opinion of it? Or have you even not paid any attention?
He's doing it like this to be.
Okay, that's nice. That's very generous. Appreciate that. Have you seen your buddy Wally recently? Are you still hanging out with Wally?
He's showing me like Lou did before. He just did a rainbow.
Wow. Manifest at any time?
Well,
I mean,
like he's on the other side of the rainbow. Like it's just something about time and colors and
all right.
like he's busy.
Wally was a good friend of yours in life, and I know you guys were pals for a long time. I'm just curious if you guys have been hanging out,
Yes.
or if so what would you want? What do we want to impart from your perspective? You know, here you are having a conversation with us, and is it because Luana roped you into it, or were you not doing anything tonight?
He said he's doing it for me to remind me and then the people listening that would know that I'm totally freaking out right now that this is happening so accurately and easily. Like I know I'm a medium and so many people can tune in easily. And so this is intense for me even. I don't do the mediumship part as often. And I'm pretty chuffed, and he's doing it to show me and then the people listening or watching that how easy it is that anyone can come through. And like you said, there's no hierarchy. We're all the same. He's like just an actor, like whatever. He's on the same level as he's saying, okay, show me a bus driver and people that work at service stations and like anywhere. We're all the same. Everybody's equal and we're all this. Oh, you just said, and we are the same. Like you're just reiterating we're the same person.
Wow, that's beautiful. I can tell you that the first conversation I had with him, where I invited him to come and talk to us, he was very reluctant, recalcitrant, just like nothing to say. And now,
it's a relationship.
So what's the difference, Marlon? Why are you so willing to talk to us now when you weren't originally? And I mean, of course, that was for him. It feels like 5 minutes ago. I'm sure.
The answer comes really fast, so it's like that's why they interrupt all the time because the answers comes before you finish asking the question, because they have to make sure that the people here that I connect with are from a heart space and will share the information the right way and explain the right way without it going to their head or using it for the wrong reasons or so it's helpful.
The banner headline, Marlon speaks.
Yeah, so it's helpful and constructive and for people to learn and grow from, not, it's getting used the right way. So to check, see if you could trust you basically.
So how does Luana, who is my dear friend, how does Luana appear to you, Marlon? If you're going to look over at Luana Anders, what do you see? I mean, I have an image of her in my mind, and clearly
Light.
Xzavia does.
Light.
What color?
White.
White, shimmering or flat?
Yeah, you can see pink, and I'm seeing her like this now too. So she's showing me her essence is what I'm getting told it is in essence, like white, and then with a pink soft glow in the middle, kind of make me think of like heart chakra, although she said it doesn't represent that the chakra as much. It's just the color that's emanating. But it's a weird pink. It's pink that I don't really know.
Okay, very good. Very good. Well, let's ask Lou, what does that pink represent in a term or a phrase?
Creation.
Creation. Very good. And I have a question for both Marlon and Luana. And what's great about this question is that Mick and Xzavia won't know who I'm talking about. Our mutual friend Sally has now come over to the Flipside. And what was that like for you? Have you been hanging out with Sally? Have you seen Sally? And what was that like for you when you did see her? Because I'm going to assume that you have.
I'm feeling a whole lot of love. So I just feel like I need to tune into that for a second. She's just emanating love. I'm just seeing flowers, like bouquets of flowers. She's like giving me symbols now instead of explaining words.
That's fine. So, like flowers in terms of presentation, like welcome home, that kind of a thing, or flowers just
so when
like
I
beauty?
get shown flowers normally, when I'm connecting with someone's loved one in spirit, they offer flowers to say I love you. And sometimes they're saying I'm sorry as well.
Well, I think this might have been more about love.
Yeah, it's she's not down on her knees or anything like that. So it's just massive bouquet over the top bouquet of flowers. Like just all expenses spared. Like, so she just laid out the red carpet. It just popped in my head.
Very good. Red carpet. And
Sally.
Sally, let me ask you, have you seen Marlon playing his bongos or no? Is he not playing bongos anymore?
It's like they're just like laughing at like how you're putting the physical terms of human bodies in.
Well, they know what I'm referring to. All right, so I'm going to tell you, this is Sally Kellerman, who passed away about a month ago. And Sally Brando Marlon knew Sally when she was a waitress before she became a movie star in the movie MASH and an Oscar-nominated actress.
Wow.
And and he invited Sally back to his house, took his clothes off, and was playing the bongos and chasing her around. So the fact that I would mention the bongos is why they're laughing. Like, okay, yeah, I remember that.
See if I would see any more imagery with that one before they were just joking at the concept of the human. Like, yeah, so it's just like the music.
Yes, right. I'm referring to it. And then the weird thing was the next day she told all of her friends, like, I stayed overnight at Marlon's house and he chased me, but I didn't sleep with him. And they were all like, get out of here. No one believed her. Nobody believed that happened. And he left her a note, in the morning. It said, coffee, whatever, in the kitchen. Anyway, listen, Jennifer and I have had quite a few conversations with him, and they're in my books, Backstage Pass to the Flipside. And the construct is so unusual because Luana was in, like I say, over 300 movies. And there's quite a few actors that Luana was close friends with that are close friends with him. Wally is Wally Cox, who was Underdog in the television show, but he was like a comedian, a really quirky comedian, and they were best friends, Marlon and Wally. So
I have to interrupt again. So Marlon and Sally were joking about how you said he chased her but didn't sleep with her. It's like because when they crossed over, they've had past life connections before where they have slept together, so it's okay.
I love that.
Not rejected after all. So maybe they knew on some level, been there, done that.
And what a wonderful thing to hear. I mean, for most people, they're going to put it in their minds like, wait a minute, are we talking about Marlon Brando, the actor? Well, again, no, we're not. We're talking about Marlon Brando,
it's an
the
energy.
spirit.
Yeah,
the person that's on the flip side. His pal Luana. Luana, what do you want Michael to talk about? What do you want to bring Michael up to speed? What does she want to say to you?
Yeah, poor Michael, who just took over. She's saying that.
I'm normally the Richie, just doing all
you're
of
the
this,
guy,
and she doesn't get a word in.
So she's waiting for you to talk to her, Michael, instead of.
Okay, very good, very good, very good.
Okay.
So Lou, and please step in. You have anything you want to add? Look, it's always a treat to know you're here, and how interesting this is. How wonderful that is for her to step forward to remind me that she's available, not just through Jennifer, who I talk to every week, you see. So then your brain starts going, well, I have to talk to Jennifer to talk to Luana.
Yeah,
no,
true.
Clearly not. So, Mick, let me talk to you a little bit about your journey. What was your first conscious thought that you might be able to do this kind of work?
That I might be able to do which kind of work?
Hypnotherapy, hypnosis, or that got you in that field?
Oh, good point.
The reverse interviews.
A lot of it was a lot of there's a lot of meditation, which is come up here. Thanks, Luke. A lot of meditation over many years, and then
Go back. I want you to go back a little. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go back a little further.
Yeah.
Your first conscious thought. You could be a little kid where you felt like spirit existed, or there would be a reason to talk to spirit.
I see. Yep. Okay.
What happened?
Probably when I was. I can't remember the first one actually, but when I was younger, growing up, I did have a lot of presence. Like I could sense presence kind of in the room and in the house, and my sister would see the same thing and the same presence at the same end of the house, which is really interesting.
Let me interrupt you again.
Please.
And so when you say presence, was it a male or a female?
I'd say male.
I'd say male. And if you don't mind, we're just going to do a little quick Rich Martini here. This is what I do.
This is great.
So let's invite this fella in to talk with us. Let's picture ourselves on a boat on a river. Just imagine yourself being in a boat.
Mm-hmm.
And where is this boat? Where is this river?
Oh, it's the same boat that I send people on when I do hypnosis. It's a little white boat. It's out in a river somewhere. It's not in Australia. It's just like a really nice, calm river. Nothing can jump out and eat you.
All right, very good. All right, it's not a Bondi. Okay.
It's not. There's no rivers in Bondi. Just big waves.
I'm just saying, no big wave. Crashing it.
That's
shark. But if I could ask this person to sit across from you in the boat.
Yep.
This male. This person who was there when you were a little toddler. About how, and if you could manifest a little bit, that would be great. Yep. And how old is this fella?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's irrelevant. But presents, I don't know, maybe 30s, 40s.
Okay, that's just a great image. And white hair. What color hair? I'm sorry.
All black. All black.
Okay, color eyes.
I can't see the eyes.
All right, let's do something.
Sorry.
That's all right. Can you give us a name or a letter to reference you?
Jay.
So Jay, can I ask you some questions?
Sure, let's have a go.
All right. And Jay, do you know what I'm going to ask you next?
No, it's up to you. That's your job.
Right, I'm just curious. Sometimes they do, like, yes. Okay, fine.
That's your job.
So Jay, would you like to show Michael his council? I don't know if Michael's been in to visit his council. Would you take us there? Are we inside or outside?
Okay. Neither.
So you're outside in the
let's
space?
say it's a place. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In space, so you look around, you're seeing stars or grass?
No, I see like a holographic place. It's not a real place, but it's the best way to describe it is that it's holographic.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps.
That's okay. Are there floors?
Am I saying the right things, Richie?
That's whatever comes to mind. Are there floors in this holographic place? Is there a floor? What's it made out of?
We're all standing on the same level, but there is no floor, just walls.
All right. And how many individuals are here in this room?
At this stage, there's like six.
Very good. And are they lined up in a line, or are they sitting or standing or semicircle?
Huddling around, semicircle. Yeah.
Okay, very good. First, I want to thank them for allowing us to have this conversation live. And if you could go to the first person on your left, is it a male, a female, or a light?
This one's more of a light. Yeah, on the left.
Right. And what color light?
Like a white light.
And can I ask you some direct questions?
Mm-hmm.
What do you represent on Mick's council? In a word or a quality?
Knowledge.
Knowledge. Very good. Thank you. I appreciate that. And let's ask you, how is Mick doing?
As best as can be expected.
All right. Very good. Very good. And no course corrections he needs to make or anything. Just pretty much he's doing.
There's been course corrections, apparently. So there you go.
Okay. Very good. And so let me ask the spirit, what's a name that we can use to refer to you, or a letter?
Don't know why, but Freddie. And they're laughing.
Freddie, that's
okay.
fine. And Freddie, could you manifest as a Freddie so that he can have
Yep.
this conversation
Yep.
with you? All right, very
Yep.
about how
Yep.
describe Freddie.
Probably young, kind of teenager. Brown
Color hair?
Yeah,
brown hair.
Yeah.
Beard, no beard?
No beard.
Color eyes?
Brown eyes.
Brown eyes. All right, very good.
Hmm.
And I'm sorry, what's your name? What's the name we can use? Freddie. Freddie, so have you ever had a lifetime with Mick?
Yeah, many.
Many. And would you show him a previous lifetime that you two guys have had together?
Yeah, he showed me one that I've already seen before. So there you go. So it was a.
Oh, very good. And what year or time period was this?
I think it was around the Bronze Age.
Around the Bronze Age. Okay. And were you guys brothers or friends, or what was your relationship?
He was in my kind of platoon or group.
Soldiers.
Mm.
Yeah, okay, very good. All right. And what was the main learning? What was the knowledge that he gained from that lifetime?
It was more about control as a leader. You've only got so much control over things that happen, and you don't know the whole story. So you have to go along with your heart and your intuition, trusting that even if things seem like they've gone wrong, maybe that's part of it.
So, Freddie, would you do us a favor and introduce us to the person on your left? Mick's right.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard to see, actually.
A male, a female, or a light?
It's back to that tall figure, that tall black figure.
Tall black figure. And can I ask you some questions? Would you put that in Mick's mind? Yes, no?
Yeah, he's knelt down for it. He's very big.
And what do you represent on Mick's council?
Protection.
Protection.
Yeah.
Very good. And if you could, just for the purposes of the conversation, I mean, let me ask you, I should have asked Freddie this. Freddie, are you aware of me and my work?
Yes.
Okay,
so is Michael.
So,
there you go. So.
And so is this guy, Michael.
Yeah.
So Michael, okay. All right. Thank you.
There you go.
Look, it's just what Xzavia was saying. You know, they anticipate the question. He's already he answered my next question. So, so Michael, have we met before?
No.
No. Okay, very good. And so would you manifest as something for Mick so he can sort of see you? And it's okay, whatever the image is that pops into his mind, it's not going to disturb him, I hope. Be fine. I mean, you might not be from this planet. You might be from another realm. You might be from somewhere else.
Yeah. I'm getting that it's like an angel.
Oh, very good. That's what I assumed. Okay, very good. And Michael, could we refer to you as an angel we might have known or met named Michael?
Potentially.
Potentially. All right, very good. Well, let me ask you a couple of goofy questions.
God,
Michael,
these answers.
would you manifest so he can see your wings? I mean, if you have wings, can he see them? Are they white? What color are they?
Yeah, it can make wings, and they're not white. They're kind of like off-white.
Okay. And what do they represent in terms of, I mean, in terms of are they a mode of transportation, or are they?
It's
what
so
do you
funny.
use it
I
for?
wondered why you said this. I was literally going to say not transport, and you said, "Are they a mode of transportation?"
Not transport.
That
well,
is so
that's
funny.
he knows what I'm going to ask. Okay, he knows what I'm going to ask in this question. So, are they metaphors for transport?
For the location? They're metaphors for location.
Okay, and the idea that you can travel, Michael, can you travel to other realms?
Everything's within reach.
Everything within reach. So
yeah,
the idea of going to another realm I've heard this before, that that they can travel through portals, and so the only thing is walking into a room, because they they have to turn sideways because the things are so big. I understand that. And so has Mick seen you before in meditations as he's seeing you now?
No.
Okay, this is new information, you see.
Mhm.
So I think it's
Yeah.
important to sort of note that. This is something you have. So can you reach over, Michael, reach over and tap or touch Mick, maybe on the top of his forehead, and generate a feeling that he can experience now? And that's kind of like your signal to let him know that you're available for a conversation. Can you do that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. And that's really just to let you know that he's always available. Of course, that would be an obvious thing for everyone. Now, we could go through every person on the council, but let's just go to the spokesperson if we can. Is there a spokesperson or somebody that sort of is in charge of this council? And if they could raise their hand.
All of them pointed to Freddie.
Oh, well, that's fine.
And Freddie went like this, like, all right.
You got me.
Yeah.
So knowledge, well, of course, knowledge, because you're aware of so much. What did Michael represent on his council? In a word.
Yeah, it's like guidance.
Guidance. Okay,
Yeah,
very good.
guidance.
So knowledge and guidance. And look, you have a number of people in this council for you to look at, to talk to access. And obviously we don't have to do hypnosis to do that. But I found that everybody has a council, and every council is tethered to us so that they're there to help us. And it's fascinating because I was going to say, I mean, I'm just a little aside here while the council's listening to me blab away.
They're listening.
I've just finished a book about councils, and it's literally about 30 or 40 trips to councils from different people many who've never met me before, don't know anything about the work. And I'm doing the same thing I'm doing now, which is just to ask a guide, whoever that is, could be their grandmother, could be a friend on the flip side, walk us into the council. And some councils who don't know my work, because not everybody does, some of them are like reluctant to give up these details and information because it feels to them like we're skipping ahead. That, but in your case, they have no problem showing you stuff that you probably have already accessed many times.
Yeah.
And it's rare when they say no. And we were talking about Simon's podcast, and when the last podcast I did with Simon, they had told him no. Somebody had done a session with him, and he got to his council, and they said, no, you can't come in here because he's not ready yet. And
preparation.
So, but then he asked me, and I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to sneak him in? I'll distract them.
Did you get him in?
Get him in. Well, what they said was, and it was funny because he said, oh, that guy who rejected me last time is here and he's coming over. And I said, just ignore him. Just let's go past it. And he said, no, he's following me around. And then I stopped, and I made him stop and talk to him. And I said, what's your beef? And he just said, he wasn't ready. He's ready now. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. So we had that conversation. So before we go anywhere, I just want to say, Lou, is this what you had in mind? We talk a little bit to Mick's council to show people how easy it is to have this conversation with these are the people who help you construct your journey, that your lifetime. Go ahead.
She wants you to know, then I feel we're a bit special now because of how she's explaining this. She comes through not just with any medium and anybody that you chat with. There are particular ones that she knows are, like we were talking about before, like heart-centered and coming from the right space to share the knowledge and open the minds of many people. So she's helped choose the correct people for you to interact with that can share. So this is what she wanted. She's reiterating that we're from the same life as soul groups. So she can see them, like how she's got the pink in the middle she's just referring to. It's the same color. Everyone's in the same, it's the same vibration or energy there, and she can spot everybody as an essence, and she can see ours. with her. Well, that's really cool because that's confirmation for me how I explain to people that our whole soul can't fit in the physical body, so she can see the rest, like she can communicate with our higher selves, the rest of us there, and the same color is the same soul family. So they're all the white with the pink in it is the same group. That's what she's explaining.
Wow,
and
that's fascinating.
Well, connected to the body down below, connecting us to our higher self.
Thank you, Lou. I appreciate that. And just in terms of the data and research, and people have filmed it, it's that idea that we all bring a portion of our conscious energy, and as you just eloquently described it as a visual, that kind of that pink energy within a white structure, we bring a portion of that to our lifetime on stage.
Yes.
The wonderful construct is, while we're on stage with the filters, we're not really aware of all this other stuff. However, a portion, and it appears to be more than we think, more of us is always back home, always able to interact. And so that's a very unusual thing, because also on stage, drama happens all the time. Conflict happens all the time. And it's very hard for people to put their minds around the fact that they might have a portion of themselves going, oh, look at this. Come here. No, oh my God, look what he did.
Yes.
That they could observe us, love us, be connected to us. People are asking me a lot on Quora, that I have a forum, Hacking the Afterlife, but they ask me that a lot about the idea of why don't we retain all this information? And my point is, the self back home retains it all. There's no delete key. And it's all stored on portable hard drives in your Akashic library. Let's call it that. And you can access that information. You don't have to, but if you need to, you can. And so this journey that we have, and Luana was an actor, and so that idea that she would embody other people, other humans, that was very empowering for her. What's she laughing? Why is she making you laugh?
Because we're all actors, because the world's a stage and we're all just playing our part. And she's like,
we're all actors.
She keeps doing fake fainting, like being dramatic. Saying, see how good I am. We can all do that. And there's lots of drama queens on earth, and we're all actors. And she just keeps laughing at the fact some just got paid for it and others didn't.
That's what's so fascinating. And of course, Marlon, but many actors consider to be the greatest actor of all time. And I'll never forget the interview he did with Connie Chung on CBS one day. And he said, me, the greatest actor? No, my dog is. My dog's the greatest actor because he pretends to like me when he's hungry. But it's such an interesting observation. Look, people do get offended by that when you talk about it that way. I mean, I know, I've heard it, because you say, well, it's a play. We're in a play. We constructed the play, and then it feels like we're diminishing their pain, their suffering, their drama, their whatever. But in essence, we're elevating their drama, and the people that are more courageous are the ones who choose lifetimes that are more difficult. And so those, and even though and so when you see somebody really struggling, I now find myself saying, oh my gosh, I have to honor you for choosing such a difficult role. I mean, you really must be, you're probably going to be some kind of heart surgeon in a future lifetime. I mean, the fact that you could go through all of these different dramatic things.
And I think, I'm sorry, Marlon just said everyone's been the best actor. Like, we've all been that character too. Sorry, go while I have a coughing fit.
No worries.
I think as well, it's about what's helpful to people as well. So, to just go around to everyone that's having a really hard time and go, oh, this is just life, it's just a play, you'll get over it, obviously doesn't help the person in the time. So I think it's about timing with that kind of information as to whether or not it's, really offensive or not.
Absolutely, sure.
Yeah, because it is very true, isn't it? If you look at life and what it is, there's much bigger things than
what we think is our drama. I think there's that thing, if you can listen with empathy, if you can listen with compassion, then even and I try it, it's very hard on Quora because, people come in, I must say that I have people come in from the religious groups and
Yep.
then the science groups, and they both like can't believe what I'm saying, and they get furious about it. And it's funny because on opposite sides of the spectrum, they're both adamant that I'm out of my mind. But if you can listen with empathy, I've seen it happen where people, they go from, I don't believe a word you're saying, to, well, that's weird. I did have one experience. And then that one experience shows them that consciousness is not confined to the brain, that they can experience things that are outside our reality, and then that everything else tumbles down. Then the whole veil falls, the curtain falls.
The curtain falls. Yeah.
And all the actors are there, waiting to talk to us. Cool is that?
It's very cool. I know some gurus have talked about how you should honor people that aren't on an enlightened path, because they're playing the game much more seriously, taking this life game much more seriously than you are, because you're looking for the enlightenment. So you should honor those people that aren't looking for enlightenment as well, because at least they're playing the part better.
Well, and I appreciate the fervor that I've encountered in my life, where, people will say, you're a heretic, or you're whatever. But, if you do, and I'm sure you've done, I don't know, how many hypnosis sessions have you done on yourself, Mick?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. 30,
a dozen?
40?
30, 40.
Yeah.
So you let another hypnotist work with you?
Yeah, so I've let other hypnotists work with me, particularly with the past life stuff. So I've probably had about 10 or 11 of those. Yeah.
Okay, so about 10 or 11. And each time were you able to access a previous lifetime, or?
The more I did it, the better I got at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the more clear the details came
More clear
through.
the details came through, yeah.
How about you, Xzavia? Have you done something like that? Is he taking you down that
I haven't.
path?
No, we're going to have a session soon.
We're about to. Yeah.
Have our first one.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had
very good.
Other psychics do past life healing and release for me, and I can access my own anytime. Like I can do it easy.
Well, if I may, no. Look, we can go down the same path if you want. It's up to you. It's up to you.
Yeah, we're having fun, Rich. We're having so much fun.
All right, very good. All right, well,
great.
So let's do a little mini version of Xzavia's journey. Okay, and I'll ask different questions.
Okay.
So, but I need you to get in the boat. Get in that dang boat. So just imagine you're. Luana, help us out with this. But put yourself in a boat.
Luana's in the boat with a parasol spinning.
All right, giving you a little shade. Yeah. And so I want your guide to come and sit across from us, and that might be somebody you're aware of. Is it a male, a female, or a light?
It's the big Maori dude.
Big Maori. Oh, excellent.
Jason Momoa.
Chi-Hu.
Interesting.
So let me ask you, sir, what's a name that we can use to refer to you? Or a letter?
He's just smiling at me.
We can call you Mr. M.
He's saying Momo, and I was trying
Momo, that's fine. Let's not judge it.
Okay, whatever. I won't refer.
Don't judge it. It's all fun. He knows what we're doing. So Momo, can I refer to you as Momo?
Yes.
Okay, very good. And first, allow me to thank you for showing up to talk to us today. Are you familiar with my work?
Yes.
You are? Okay, very good. So I just want to thank you for showing up. Do you mind if I ask you some questions about Xzavia's journey?
Go for
it. Okay. We could go visit her council. That's always a fun thing to do. And that might be something she should do. But I'm going to ask you, Momo, a little bit something different. Would you show and put in her mind's eye her life planning session?
For this life?
Yeah, for this life.
Okay.
Yeah. And so where are we? Are we inside or outside?
Sort of like mix, like floating. There's like a white, it's like a screen.
Like a screen.
See-through screen surrounding me 360, standing in the middle with a whole lot of all my soul family.
Very good. And how many are here in the soul family? Roughly, what's the number?
As like 100, like
100. Okay, very good. And
Yeah.
and if I can, you have a key, you have your council. These are people that are just like Mick has. These are key people who are really key. How many are those?
7.
Let's have 7. Very good. And are they up front, or how are they arrayed?
I feel like I have to check, like they're around me.
Oh, very good. Like a circle, semicircle, like a circle. Very good. And if I may, I'm just going to ask for the lead council member. Is it okay if I ask you some questions about Xzavia's journey?
Yes.
Are you familiar with my work?
Yes.
What's your opinion?
um, I'm just laughing at what he looks like. Sorry.
What does he look like? Go ahead, describe it.
Sorry, like it's distracted me. So it looks like a tall masculine energy, very dark skin, very pointy head, and like a white outfit on that comes up close to the neck.
Very good. What do you represent on Xzavia's council?
Oh, I'm just hearing I'm a family.
Family. That's okay. That's a term that refers to, a group. And how do you represent that on other councils, or just this one?
Yes.
Other councils. Very good. How many, if you don't mind me asking? Lots?
You said 7, but then it added zeros. Like
7,000.
yeah, like
Okay, very good. That's
looking to
funny.
the side because I
It's-
can see them in my mind's eye this way without
He's-
looking. It distracts me.
He's got a sense of humor. And what's a word that we can use to refer to you, or a letter?
I can't describe it. It's a sound.
It's a sound. Okay, that's very common. But what's the first letter of that sound? An S, a
It just
T?
sounds like om.
Ohm. Okay, very good. So can we call you Mr. Ohm? Does that be okay? I know it's a
you
silly
want.
question. If you want, yeah, right. So, but let me ask you, how is our friend Xzavia doing? She on the right path?
Oh, that's nice. Exceeding our expectations.
Exceeding expectations. Very nice to hear. And why are you allowing her to witness this life planning session today? What's important for her to access?
It's not allowing. She doesn't need our permission because she's us. She's part of us. So
Okay, so she's capable. Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate that. And would you show her on this screen kind of what was she getting a preview of her life as Xzavia,
there's like
or options?
there's many versions. So dependent on they're showing free will. So there's like multiple options of how different stages can play out, depending on the choices she made when she's on Earth.
And how many? So you've got 7 council members there. Do they all weigh in on the choices, or does everybody in the room weigh in on the choices?
They give advice and options and ideas and help you make decisions. They don't tell you what to do because you get to choose. And then everybody sort of puts their hand up, so to speak, of what role they can play in the life, so they can help you with the kind of path you're assuming you might take. But they also promise us adding that they can reconvene. So while I'm on Earth, they're telling me that they also tune in and help change the path if that's what's needed. Like write new bits of the script, add in pages. I love all the analogies.
Adding new page, like blue pages. Okay, very good,
Okay.
Mr. Ohm. I appreciate that.
Have a
That's
plan, and then it changes, and then just reconvene, and they have a little whisper and suss it out, and that's why. So there's some that are waiting that aren't in my life yet, because they might pop in at certain times, at certain stages if stuff changes. Cool.
very good. And has she done this before? Is this every time that she has a lifetime? Does she have these options?
Yes. Oh,
And
yeah.
Can you show her an option that she refused or rejected? Turned down?
Do you mean when she was at the planning stage?
Yeah. Was there anything that you showed her and she went, done that, sorry? Or was it always,
It wouldn't have been shown if she'd already done it.
I see. So it was always in concert with the idea of this is a good idea.
They're
In
kind
other
of
words,
like, they're kind of like, how do you not already know this kind of attitude? Like, duh. Like you already know,
well, I
you
would
already
just
know this. They're saying you already know, but you're obviously repeat, like, yeah, you're explaining it like this for the listeners, as they're saying.
well, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ohm, which is you're describing your relationship with Xzavia, and this is how she chooses her lifetimes. But are you aware of other people, and perhaps on your other councils, where people are resistant to what you guys pitch to them in terms of what they should or shouldn't do with their lifetime? Have you ever run across somebody who opted out or said, I don't think I can handle that?
Yes. Yes, they still get to choose. They know that is sometimes they know that they're going to forget things when they get there, and they think, yes, I know it's probably a good idea, but then I know it's basically going to suck when I get there. If you're referring to Daniel, my fiance, he's going to love that.
Oh, wow, that's brilliant.
And
That's
so
brilliant.
and yeah, he's that's funny. Some people, yeah, they know they're be cranky when they.
All right. Well, and Mr. Ohm, just because it's on people's minds,
Yes.
the idea of, I mean, someone like Xzavia, who's had such great experiences, and you guys have guided her so well. But there are some people, of course, who've had problematic journeys, including ones where they just can't believe that they're involved with such trauma, let's just say.
You said that's on the first level. It's not here.
Right. It's not back there. But
Yeah.
but am I correct in assuming that you guys help them choose the traumatic journey so they could learn lessons?
Yes. Yes. That's why they go there.
Does anybody come back home and are upset over the fact that the lessons that were too much, or they had really?
Yes. People who take their own lives. Their
okay.
lessons were a bit much, and they forgot their connections that had promised to help them when they came there. So the next time, life will be a whole lot easier.
I see. And so let me ask you about that, because I've encountered some people who that's been their option each time. I've done it so many times that the council is saying, oh, look, we can't work with you because every time we give you difficulties, you quit.
Yeah.
Which ruins everybody else's journey, because there's everybody else is in the play, and the play gets screwed up because this guy keeps jumping off stage in the second act.
They have to insist that they have what's referred to, and they're showing me this because they've shown me this before, that they're more of a floater in a life. So a life that's really easy, where they might not achieve much, they might not be well known by anybody, they just have an average job, average life, maybe no children, so no karma, that kind of thing. And they just float through life. So it's easier to help recalibrate them, and then they can come home and start fresh.
Well, Mr. Ohm, because I have you, and because I can ask this question, I'm familiar that the word karma in Sanskrit means action or energy. And from that level, it appears that people choose an action or energy in order to learn it, overcome it, or master it. So it's not something that haunts them or follows them or a sin or baggage. Is that correct?
Correct.
And if you want to correct that for humans at all, I mean, maybe just talk about that a bit about what karma means, or what your vision of it is.
It's just the lessons that we choose, so we can connect all of their versions of ourselves back together again when we're done. So we just have lots of experiences. So nothing is a punishment. They're just an experience. They're just roles. So we can try many different experiences, and then go back to one.
Wow. Yeah, that does make sense. And I really appreciate you letting us talk about it. And so I have one more question for you. Could you show Xzavia a classroom that she attends, or that she likes to go to, or her favorite class? Are we inside or outside?
Do you mean here in between?
Not on the planet, but off
The
there.
body. like when she's not in her body? Or do you mean
on the flip side, I mean, in her higher self has classes that she attends, and I want her to walk into one and just tell me, are we inside or outside?
he said there's no inside, there's no physical here.
All right, but I mean, I want to go to the classroom where the teacher is. I want to talk to that teacher. So could you bring a teacher forward for us to talk to?
Yeah, he's just laughing at how you want to see physical things when everything's just energy.
All right.
So if you want to
break, that's all we can see here.
yeah, exactly. He's like, if you want to see a physical teacher, he's like,
well, I can just say, look, you know me by now, and you know I've been to many classrooms and I've talked to many teachers.
Showing,
so,
he's showing shit like a hot teacher.
Okay, very good. Is that a male or a female?
Glasses and a mini skirt for you, for your entertainment.
And is that, so it's a female teacher? Okay, very good. And if I may address her and talk to her, what's a name that we can use to address her, or a sound or a letter?
Madam.
Thank you. Madam, could you tell us what your class is about? What is it you're teaching? How many students are in this classroom, for example? How many energetic beings?
Everyone's a student for this classroom. It's just whether they choose to come here and remember what we teach and what they already know. It's a manifestation class. It's like creation.
Oh, very good. And so if you don't mind, I want you to take Xzavia into a typical classroom exercise where somebody's manifesting. And if you don't mind, how many students are in this particular construct where she's looking at people and you're teaching them how to manifest? How many people? A lot? A few?
It's like endless. I can just see.
There's a lot.
It's like if there were walls, they would disappear, and it just looks like infinity of numbers.
Like a giant auditorium that goes forever.
Yes.
Okay. And the reason I ask is because like I said, I've visited many classrooms. So this is an unusual class in manifestation. So if you don't mind, show us an experiment that you might have the students manifest. What would be a thing?
Your mates just jumped in, Lou and Marlo.
Of course.
Rainbow making.
Lou and Marlon.
Doing the rainbows.
And Luana, I have met in at least one of her classrooms where she looked at me and said, "What the hell are you doing here?" It was a very unusual moment. And so that's why I want this teacher to show you a physical act of manifestation. Are they making objects, or are they making rainbows?
They're making it's like a solar system, like planets and Milky Way, and I'm just seeing like a whole nother universe being created.
Okay, very good, very good, very good.
And everyone's energy is making it together.
So is this more of an astrophysics class just to give it a quality, or is this more about manifesting life on other planets?
Anything, everything.
Oh, everything. Manifestation of energy, taking energy.
Right now they're teaching how everyone can think the same thing at the same time and create a whole universe.
So if you don't mind, if we're going to put it on a blackboard, and I'm not saying you should, what is the formula for manifesting something from intent? If you can just give her some qualities that are required. Do we have to, sorry? Belief. Okay, that's key.
Because
believing.
Yeah, and anymore we can't explain more, because you have to figure it, like you have to learn it. So if we can't just tell people, they have to remember, they have to connect with this classroom at any time. You don't have to be in between lives. You can connect. You can come to this classroom anytime you want to remember how to manifest anything.
Well, I don't mean manifest on our planet, which is a great quality you've just described. I'm talking about creating other universes, creating matter in other universes. Does it begin with intent? I mean, belief, intent. Is there time? Is there pressure? What are the qualities that are required to learn, or at least to create something? Because I've been in a class where they manifested crystal, and they described to me intent, pressure over time, and how that's how you create pink crystal. Like the whole class was working on various forms of it.
I'm just being shown. Well, they're just having a giggle because I was someone in one of my in-between lives, I helped decide that crystals should go in the planet Earth, which I
all
already
right.
did this, which was pretty cool. So they're talking about. They said, "Oh, funny you should mention crystal," because they thought it would be good for the planet and the people, physical people and animals on the planet.
Well, let me ask you about that. And crystal, in terms of, is that correct? Does crystal retain energy, or is it a radiator of energy, or is it a receptor?
All of the above.
All of the above. Okay, very good.
Thank
And
you.
how do you manifest crystal? Is it time and pressure and stuff over time, or is it just as simple as?
In Earth speak, in Earth terms, it is. The way I'm translating is terrible because I'm not very sciencey.
Oh, that's great.
I think it makes sense to me, so I can explain it to you. So in Earth speak, there's all those elements, but really it just happens, like
Manifesting. I had a dream the other night that I was manifesting something with my hands, feathers, and I was dreaming that I was in some kind of classroom, and they were showing it to me. They were saying, "Well, here's how you do it. You think feather."
Yeah.
And so the feathers were appearing in front of me, and I could see them go from light into the actual form. And I was thinking to myself, "Oh, that's unusual." Somebody was teaching me that. I don't know who that was. Might have been you.
They have.
All right. And by the way, your teacher, did she give us a name? I'm sorry. Did she say a name?
Madam.
So,
Luana.
Madam, are you familiar with an astrophysics teacher that we refer to as Ma Durga? And she has 8 arms. Is this somebody that you're familiar with, or no? No, she's a teacher who's shown up in enough times that it was like interviewing her.
They're just showing me so many layers, like
so many layers, so many players, and so many different realms, and so many different teachers, and so many different classes, etc., etc. But I will point out that Xzavia is in a classroom that is like sort of beyond comprehension. It's so vast and so fascinating.
Yeah.
So, and it says a lot about her ability and talent in this lifetime. That's the kind of classroom. I found myself in a classroom where it felt like freshmen were there.
Yes.
And they were what they were doing was they were taking the ball bearings of these objects and they were cleaning them. And what they said was, these geometric shapes carry all the energy of the Akashic records, and over lifetimes they get gunk on them, and you have to clean that off.
So you're polishing stones.
So
I'm in the universe grading class.
I'd never heard of such a thing in my life, but that idea of each class is a little bit different. All right, well, let's thank everybody. I want to thank Madam. I want to thank Mr. Ohm. Thank you for showing us this construct. It's fascinating, and I don't know how familiar Xzavia is with the work I've been doing, but this is what people are reporting. A life planning session. Yours was very graphic and dramatic. In the film Hacking the Afterlife, a guy who's a hypnotherapist now, he was seeing himself in a giant auditorium like the Greek Theater in Hollywood. And he said, there were thousands of people there, but his front row, like you, there were 7, counselors there and he was giving a dissertation, almost like for a PhD. And he said, and I saw myself sitting with microfiche, going over each lifetime and looking to find the things that he had not done. And that he was now pitching what he was going to do. And like you said, people in the audience would go, I'm playing your mother, and I'm your brother Pete, whatever. They offer to participate.
So it was
what you just described is literally in the film Hacking the Afterlife.
Wow.
Which I don't think you've seen. So
no.
Not like you
well, maybe because dimensions.
Yeah, on the flip side, they give out popcorn and tickets.
Well, it's nice to know we can do class while we're here too.
Yes.
That's interesting.
At the end, they just added on the whole difference to the class, how you visualized it being more of a classroom, and mine was like crazy. It's just they're showing it depends on how many times you've been in bodies and lives. So how many times we've been back
The reference,
have
yeah,
just
the
been-
way it's,
yeah.
yeah.
I might have just been here more times. So and when they said 7, I was one of the 7. They counted. And when Mick said 6, they told me 7. So they counted him as one of the
Oh,
7.
that's funny.
Okay, I was actually
So you're
thinking,
both.
I was
Yeah.
confused because I said 6, but I'm thinking 7. I'm like, no, 6. Like I actually had that issue. So I
We
just
were
said
included in the 7. So we were one of, I sort of.
Very good.
right.
Yeah, so they wanted
Okay.
to clarify that it was 7, including us. So I don't know
Rich-
if we're a council in ourselves or not.
Rich,
Now-
I had a dream once, like about a year ago or something, and I knew it wasn't a dream because there's a difference between when you have a dream that you remember and something that you feel like you actually experienced. And it's
Yeah.
similar to when we do past life regressions. You know, you can imagine a story in your head and it feels like an imagination, and then there's other times where you have an actual past life experience. And it's like, oh my God, that was so real because I felt
Yeah.
every part, and the bits I didn't make up, it just came to me. So I had this dream that I was in the classroom and I was sitting at the front with the professor and the professor would say something and I'd say, oh, so it's kind of like, and I'd give like an analogy, and the professor stopped and looked at me and went, no. And then the professor went on to say something else. And as I went to ask a question, he looked at me and said, probably not, before I could even open my mouth.
I remember you
And
told
we
That's
me.
all laughed. And
hysterical.
I didn't feel bad. Like I laughed as well. And he goes,
Right, because it's like, oh, you've been in the class. So
yeah,
you
whatever.
know.
No,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was very funny. So I laughed as well. He's like, probably not. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, maybe just sit on the other side. So I was still at the front, but I had to sit on the other side of him.
Wow.
And then I felt more comfortable. I had no idea what any of that meant. I still don't know
Wow.
what it means, but it's interesting you talk about
Well,
how you had an
it
experience of being in
sounds-
a class, you know.
Well,
yeah.
it sounds exactly like what we're talking about. I mean,
Okay.
and,
Yeah.
and just to bring Luana back into this
Please.
conversation, it was when I did my first between life session, my first hypnotherapy session with Jimmy Quast of Easton Hypnosis, and he said, where do you want to go? I said, well, I want to go visit my friends. I was thinking I wanted to visit Luana, but I found myself in a classroom, and this teacher seemed like she knew me, and she introduced me to the class, and she was
Wow.
like, oh, it's my friend Richard, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know these people, but they all seemed really excited, oh, the teacher's friend is here, so we had this conversation about geometric shapes, et cetera, and then the hypnotherapist Jimmy said, where do you want to go next? I said, well, I want to see my friend Luana. And now I found myself in this giant auditorium, and I was up high on the rows, and Luana was in the back row with her friends, and I could see her, but she was about age 20, 10 years before I met her, wearing a ponytail, blonde hair. And I manifested right like about 10 rows down, and I could see it down below like a teacher, but he was super tall, like 10 feet tall, green. But this was like maybe 150 rows, something like that. And so I start talking. Jimmy Quast says, where are we? I said, well, we're in a classroom, and this is a Healing Light of the Universe class, and they teach how to channel the healing light of the universe into doctor. And one of the students turned to me and said, you don't know what you're talking about. And everybody froze, like I had appeared in front of, and I even said to Jimmy, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. And Luana's looking at me, and she's like, what the fuck? What are you doing here? What are you doing? You're interrupting my class. And I thought, you know what? I am so far into deep space, I might as well continue. I said, okay, they don't want me here. Anyway, so this class is about, and I turned to the student.
What are they going to do?
I said, yeah, I turned to the student and said, okay, look, I understand. Not everybody signs up to heal everybody, and not everybody signs up to get healed. They want to learn the energy of those lifetimes where they aren't healed. And the guy looked at me and said, oh, I guess you do know. And then he turned back. So it was like, a slap and then an applause. Anyway, so now cut to 2 years later. I'm seeing Scott DeTamble in Claremont, California. We're doing this research. I'm filming him do sessions. He says, Rich, why don't you try another session? Let's see what happens. I thought, oh, great. I'll see if that was all fake, whatever. And he starts counting me down. And I said, you don't have to count. I'm there. And I was back in the classroom. But it was like 10 seconds later, 2 years later. And
Wow.
I'm with Luana, and she's introducing me to this 10-foot tall teacher. And now we're all the way to the front of the classroom. And I'm looking up at this 10-foot tall green fella. and he's looking kind of stern, you know, and she's like, this is my friend. I'm so sorry. He's doing some kind of goofy film project, and my apologies. And I'm thinking, you know, it's like that Shakespeare nightmare. You wake up and you're trying to figure out what play you're in.
Yeah.
And so the teacher looks at me and says, "So, what do you want to know?" And I was like, "All right," but I thank God, I just allowed my higher self to know. I said, "Look, so was I accurate about, you know, the classroom and blah blah blah? And this is where people learn how to channel the healing light." Well, yes, you know, blah blah blah. So I don't know. It was fascinating. So classrooms are very present in our Flipside experience for everybody. And I've never gone to I've never gone to a classroom live in a podcast before. We've gone to councils.
Oh, got a new thing.
Wow.
But and a life planning session. How wild was that? Did you hear that? She had like a 360-degree
I hadn't
visual.
seen my own before. I've seen others. I've seen it for them and explained it to them, but I hadn't seen my own. So thank you so much for the experience. That was great.
It's like Minority Report going on there, where you got a screen and you can just
It was like
exactly like that.
floaty.
Yeah.
And that's how I've been shown it is, and I've seen it for other people. But it looked big for mine. Like I feel like I've done this so many times, and the soul grief is massive.
Wow. Well, I hope you send me a recording of today's session so I can transcribe it,
Yeah,
as well as, you know, don't forget to record her session when you do that session.
yes, yeah, good point. Yep.
Yes.
You know,
Get up,
make
you never
sure,
know what happened.
and you know, you might do it on this.
Yeah, we
You don't-
probably will. And it's good, the hypnosis though as well. Sometimes you can forget some details because
Yeah,
you're
as long as you
in the
record it,
zone. Yeah, so
Yeah, yeah.
recording's good for that.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I've been fortunate because that was the Newton method, which is he would record everything and to give the
Yeah.
client, you know, a copy. And so when I first started filming, you know, they were okay with that. And that allowed me then to, you know, just film everything and then go
You can
back and
document it.
transcribe it. Yeah. And then also I found, and I'm sure this may be with your clients, where I would tell them, you know, especially the ones who said, I really, you know, I think I made it all up and I don't know if I went anywhere and I'd say, no, make a transcript, listen to it again, type up exactly what you saw, and then add any new details. And as they do that, new information comes. It's like two bites at the same apple.
Very true. Yep.
That
Yep.
happens.
Wow.
I'm going to start writing a book about all the past lives I've had with my partner, my twin flame. And yeah, it's easy.
Danny boy.
Danny. So if you just go back and see a couple of notes that we've written down about a past life, I can then just read that and go, okay, let's go back into it to get more information for the book, because that's my intention. It will be easy just to tune back.
Oh, that's great. Very good. Very good. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
Well,
Very
how can people follow what you're doing? It's kind of, it feels like it's hard for them to not follow you. I guess you're kind of everywhere.
Well,
how do people get away from you, Richard?
How do you want them to find you?
Man, that's hilarious. Just follow me to the pub and we can sit down and have a pint.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, great.
Cheers. There you go.
Yeah.
No, let's see. So hackingtheafterlife.com is the podcast. martinizone.com is
YouTube?
the videos from the podcast. And then richmartini.com has links to articles and fun stuff, toys. No. But my books, you know, translated in different languages, Portuguese, Italian, Spanish, whatever. And then, those are the three main places. And then if you're desperate, if you go to Gaia, if you sign up for Gaia, there's, I think, about 4 or 5 episodes with George Nuri and Beyond Belief, but there's 3 films. One is Flipside, the first film that I made about Michael Newton and his work. Then I made one called Talking to Bill Paxton, my old friend, the actor, and I had 3 different mediums talk to him simultaneously, different times, you know, the same questions, different people. In one case, I wasn't even there. I have to warn people because I was filming these things in loud, noisy coffee shops, restaurants, because I wasn't thinking like, oh, I have to be in a sound stage. It was like, oh my gosh, here's a medium, blah, blah, blah. So people do get a little disconcerted because it's not, you're in a weird coffee shop and somebody's,
Awesome.
And then the third one is Hacking the Afterlife, which is a little bit more controlled. And that is really kind of a compendium of the past 10 years, because Newton's in it, Brian Weiss is in it, Wamba, all the research that I've done and sort of, put in a box. So if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, people can, knock on wood, people can, see kind of for themselves. It's just a different thing. It's one thing to experience it, as we know. It's another thing to see somebody else experience it. But the idea is to open up the door to possibilities, because, what we've just demonstrated here in a very unusual way, as Luana so gracefully came forward and Marlon Brando came forward to let us know they're not far away, they're not hard to access, and they want to help. They want to communicate.
Yeah.
They don't want us to have fear about that stuff, but they also want us to grow so that we can access. Listen, my main thing about this research is, if it's true what we're saying, that we come back here, then doesn't it make sense to leave behind fresh water, fresh air, fresh earth, if not for our children, but for our own possible return?
Yeah, very good message. I mean, trees are an extension of our lungs, really. Without trees, what are our lungs doing?
Why would you kill the guy who makes you breathe?
Yeah, that's it.
To me, that's insane. I mean, look, I understand. I wood everywhere, but still, I've had conversation. I'm sure you guys have as well, where someone says, I'm in a sacred grove. I'm seeing myself, among trees. And then I'll say, well, can you go over and hold that tree, hug the tree? And then while they're doing that, I say, do you feel any kind of sentience associated with the tree? And they'll, yes. And then I ask the tree, can I ask you some questions? And so I asked one tree, I said, so how do you view humans? And this tree said, insects? No, they're a little bit more annoying, And so, and then the other tree,
with chainsaws.
yeah. And then the other tree, I said, so how do we help affect climate change? And the tree said, plant more trees. I said, how many? He said, 1 trillion. I said, 1 trillion. And it turns out, I didn't know this, but there's
Sadhguru's
estimated.
Sadhguru's got a thing where he's working on soil now.
Yeah.
But it was to plant 1 trillion trees was exactly what you were saying.
I didn't know that. But I mean, the idea of, as he was pointing out, was that the more oxygen you bring the temperature down, because there's more oxygen, and it just makes sense. But I got it from a tree. And he was saying, I didn't realize that there used to be 4 trillion trees on the planet. That was the estimate. Right. And then there's 1 trillion missing. So obviously, in order to rebalance the planet, now listen, 1 trillion trees is a lot of trees. Yep. And even, there's only 200 and some countries on the planet. And even if each one of them plants 1 billion, we're not going to get to 1 trillion. So it is a tall order. But if we can aim towards it, at the very least, we got a shot at riding the boat.
Yep. I love it. I love it. Or not ending up in another boat like Noah's Ark.
That's right. Ending up in your boat, Mick.
Or in my boat. Exactly.
Your boat. I like that. Picture yourself on a boat on a river.
Spent a lot of time in that boat. That's fine. Yeah.
Very good.
It's been so wonderful having you with us.
What a
sharing
treat.
This gift.
Oh my gosh.
And bringing your friends.
Yeah. How weird is that?
Thank you.
We did not plan for Luana to show up here today, but I can't wait to share this podcast on my podcast. So please do send me a recorded link.
Easy. The easiest thing we could do.
Absolutely.
Cheers, mates.
Thank you so much for coming.
I hope to see you in this life.
We will, I'm sure, somehow.
Face of it.
At a pub.
Very good. All right, ciao.
Thanks, Richard. Bye.
That's it for another episode, but that doesn't have to be the end of the conversation.
Feel free to leave your comments on our YouTube channel, or for those podcast listeners, you can email us at mickandthepsychic@gmail.com to leave your feedback or questions.
I'm a certified hypnotherapist and timeline regression therapist. If you wish to contact me to explore the source of an issue you're facing, just book a session at hernhypnosis.com.au and include the promo code MATP for 10% off. You can contact me on Insta and Facebook at hernhypnosis.
Check out my website at optimisticxzavia.com.au if you feel you'd like to connect with me as a psychic medium, spiritual mentor, or intuitive coach. Include the promo code MATP for 10% discount. You can also find me on Insta, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
We look forward to connecting with you again next time as we attempt to leave no stone unturned.
Bye.
All right, cool. I reckon that should be okay.